everybody, I'm on a deadline. So I said that I wanted to review every Mario game, well, not every Mario game, but a Mario game a month, and I am coming close to this one being over by the time this comes out. So instead of doing this preamble, even though I did a preamble, we're reviewing Mario Land 2. This is one of my favorite games. Let's get right into it. Is it worth playing today? So apparently Super Mario Land 2 takes place immediately after Super Mario Land, where Wario, a childhood friend of Mario, is jealous of Mario and he takes over his castle. And so now it is your job to retrieve the 6 golden coins and get your castle back. The thing that's interesting about this is not the fact that Wario took over your castle, not that this happened immediately after Super Mario Land, it's the fact that Mario has a castle. It's so interesting that, that's something that, is just kind of yada yada in the grand narrative of everything, because Mario doesn't seem like a character that would have a castle, more than just a castle, a whole dedicated land. It feels like that's interesting that has never come back in the lore of Mario. Technically you could probably say, oh well, some of Mario Kart takes place on that land, but it's kind of like Sarasa Land itself, kind of forgotten in the grand scheme of the Mario lore. So I initially was like, there's not much I have to say, but it's more or less of damn, there's a castle. The narrative is I don't need to go into if it's good or bad. It's Mario, right? It doesn't need to be this grand narrative. It's not like one of the Mario RPGs. It's fine. It's just funny that Mario had a castle and we just don't talk about it. I mean, I guess it's fine. Mario has a castle, Luigi has a mansion. The only difference is we see Luigi's mansion multiple times. I would love to see a game acknowledge this area of Mario in the future, but none of that's really important. Let's get to the review. So, Super Mario Land 2 is one of those hard games to talk about because in the modern day, right now where we're at, handheld gaming is kind of dead, right? It has evolved past what it initially was. So for me to go on and on about this game feels crazy because Super Mario Land 2 is just a traditional 2D Mario game, but I can't understate how good this was at the time, and even still to this day. If they had a Super Nintendo port of this game, or you just upped the graphics and a few more things, it would practically just be a Super Nintendo game. The reason why it's hard for me to talk about this is because I can't convince a lot of younger people how important handheld gaming was to me, and I think people of my age. I think that handheld gaming definitely was in your guys' cards, I'm assuming, especially by the people that watch this, since they're in the 25 to 30 range, so you understand. But for younger viewers, I don't think you will ever understand the struggle of playing a Game Boy without a light, or playing one when it was just getting dusk, so you kind of had to hope that you hit the right amount of sunlight, or you hit every street light to be able to play your game. And this was around that era, so to have a game that ran this well and played this well around this time was super cool and super awesome, because it played into that addictive nature, but it also played into having a console level game in your hands, right? Nintendo has done this before with my favorites, the Zelda franchise with, Link's Awakening, the Oracle games, and so on and so forth. It's really cool to have these console level games, and even then, right, that's what I'm also trying to bring up, is at the time, this is what console gaming looked like. It's no longer this way today. So with that being said, I have to give Mario Land 2 a lot of credit for being an outstanding handheld game, which is not anything new, really. Handheld games have been great throughout all time, but I feel like this is just one of those that went above and beyond, and I absolutely love it because it plays so similarly to the Super Nintendo era, where the last one played very similarly to the NES era. This one is a huge jump, and I just can't stress enough how good this jump is. It doesn't mean it's perfect, mind you. I think one of the biggest issues that I have with it is that Mario sprite is a little bit bigger, and that does cause for, in my opinion, some platforming weirdness and feeling, because it takes up more space. It's a little bit more detailed, but that's more into the presentation. And even then, I don't know if it affects the game that much. It might just be a mental bugbear that I have with a bigger sprite, because, I feel like they might have accounted for it. Like in Mega Man 7, where, yes, there's a bigger sprite, but they've accounted for that within the gameplay. Who knows? All in all, I do know that this game plays phenomenally today, and I think that it's still even worth playing today. Especially since it is on NSO, right? There's like almost no excuse to not go out and play this game. And I think that it serves its purpose. But, you know, with that being said, that's just kind of spoiling the episode, isn't it? So let's move on to the presentation. The presentation of Mario Land 2 is weird, and I think that we just need to kind of come to terms with that. That doesn't mean that it's bad. Actually, if anything, that means that it's great, because the weirdness that is made creates an unforgettable existence as a game. Because they decided to have a horror level, a robot Mario level, a undersea level that kind of goes into weirder different places, like a sunken ship and yada yada. There's a space level, and so many things that exist within this game are just like weird, and I enjoy that. It's what makes the presentation of this game so stand out at the end of the day. And it's more than just the levels too. The levels in them have enemies that are very different, such as yokai, vampires, or, you know, certain type of ants, pigs, certain kind of aquatic creatures. The presentation, the way that this game visually is just uniquely different. Even down to the point of we have a reoccurring villain, Tanga, whatever his name is, he's even in this game as a boss. And I think that that's just unique. I think that Mario kind of sticks to a certain kind of aesthetic, right? It's a beautiful aesthetic, but it's one that is very defined, especially now. And I think it's interesting when Nintendo decides to go out of their way and do something different. I think the closest we have to this, and this is pushing it, is Wonder. But even then, I think Wonder pales in comparison to how weird this gets. Like, Wonder gets trippy, but, like, it's still within the reasonable realm of Mario, right? I think if anything that's close to this, it's Mario Kart, right? Because there's areas and levels that I would love to see in a Mario game, but they're just not. And that's kind of what this one feels like. These are stuff that I'd like to see Mario play with a little bit more, but I think due to the fact that Mario as a brand is... a brand, I think that we have to be a little bit more consistent, and I think the lack of consistency and the weirdness is what makes it. That's kind of what made the Game Boy era great. Look at Link's Awakening, even. That was a phenomenal game that decided to change it up with how they handled the Zelda franchise. And I think that also might just be because this came out an early part of Nintendo's existence. Who knows? Another thing about this is that the music is goddamn phenomenal in this game. And when it gets down to the music of Super Mario Land 2, it plays a lot with the same motifs, being very similar songs. It has some, like the Moon theme, that just definitely have nothing to do with it, but most of the songs are very familiar and similar to the first World song, which I think is good. It plays differently as time goes on. You'll hear it throughout this episode, where they all have different motifs, but at the end of the day, the music itself is really good and very iconic and very snappy. When it gets right down to it, the presentation of this game is really good. That's all I really have to say. So with that being said, let's move on to accessibility. This is the first time where I've been put in the place of where I thought a game was a specific price, and it wasn't. So thankfully, I looked it up before I recorded. I always do, but I felt super confident. With that being said, you can get this game for $14 to $20. $20 is the highest. Thank God. With the way game prices are, you do not understand. This show makes me hate y'all sometimes. I'm gonna be honest. I'm kidding. Anyways. You can get this game for about $14 to $20 altogether, and I don't know, I'm really surprised at that one. This one's a super good game. It might be because it has been released multiple times, or ported multiple times, as I should say, and as of late, you can get this game for NSO for the price of NSO. I don't know exactly or remember the price of NSO. I should have it written down. I feel like I really also shouldn't, because I feel like NSO is going to change its price at some point. It has so many things on it. Hope to God it doesn't. But I don't know if I feel confident 100%, but it is definitely the price of NSO, and I think that that's a great way to play it too. So, with that being said, yeah, it's pretty accessible. Let's move on to the goods and the bads. This game's outstanding. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's one of those games that just is so good, and it's still good today. Don't get me twisted. This game is just outstanding. It's a really great example of 2D Mario on the handheld. Hell, it's just a great example of 2D Mario. If this came out for the Super Nintendo, I still think that it would have been great. Obviously, there would have to be upscales and stuff, but I think that this game feels really, really good as what it is. I feel like I'm underplaying how good this game is. With the gameplay and how it sounds musically and audibly, yes, I think the game is great, right? So, not really much more to say. The power-ups are great, the introduction of Wario is great, the game's great. With that being said, let's move on to the bads. Yeah, I got nothing. If you have something, leave it in the comment section below. I know that that's kind of like a cop-out, but like I just don't have the brain power right now to like get into that space. This is what happens when you're a biased bitch and you like a game that much. That's where I stand. So, I don't know. I don't. How do you guys feel? Actually, how do you guys feel about me just saying I don't know or I don't count a certain one? I mean, I'm not gonna change, but I do want to know. Like, do you guys hate it when I do that? Should I just not have the segment? Should I just move on if I don't have anything to say? Because I get long-winded sometimes. Hell, like right now, this is longer than it was supposed to be. Did you guys just? Well, how would you guys like it? Because I mean, I guess I could also talk about the controversies, but then again, that is kind of there's a reason. So from now on, leave it in the comments below. Would you rather just have me say nope and move on to the final thoughts? Or, you know, is it okay if I do that sometimes? I'm going to anyways. I just want to know how like, if I could just avoid this altogether. With that being said, let's move on to the final thoughts. So, is Super Mario Land 2 worth playing today? Absolutely. This is an amazing game, and I think that you should definitely give it a try today. NSO has it. It doesn't go for an unreasonable price. Please, if you get your chance to, please check it out. If there is a favorite handheld Mario game that you have, what is it? Please leave it in the comment section below. I mean, Mario in any way. Mario Kart, Dr. Mario, you know, these games had handheld versions, of course, but you get the point. I'll see you guys next month when I review another Mario game, and I will not be this quick, and I promise you, I will not take this long. See you guys next time, here on Nostalgia Goggles. Bye!